Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the FMS Toyota FJ40 build series. This is part 4. This is my first trail run with the mods that I did in the previous video, which would be the ESC, the controller receiver, and finally the heavier wheels, grippier tires, and Endura silicone inserts. And if you can't stick around for the whole video, I get it. This is a very long one, but I really wanted to cover everything pretty in depth so you guys can see exactly how much of an improvement this makes. So if you can't stick around, spoiler alert, it's a huge improvement. I think you could see right away if you watched a previous running video. I actually rolled it over a few times in this spot, once or twice in this exact section, just on a basic little rock section like that. It definitely would have rolled over there. So huge improvement from this added weight on the wheels and tires. And stick around for the rest of the video if you want to see everything in even more detail, and stay tuned for further videos coming up on this. The conditions while filming this run were really tough. You can see how wet everything is. We had a ton of rain the previous night, so it's almost not even fair to really compare this to the previous video as far as tire traction goes, but these tires did hook up way better than I thought they would, so at least I could get out and kind of do some testing and some comparison. You can see right away how much more planted this thing is, but I do struggle throughout this video with some traction here and there, so that's not any fault of the tire. It is just super greasy out. It's slick, it's humid, it's hot, and we had a lot of rain, so it made it very difficult. But check this out, guys, and hope you enjoy the video, and thanks. The capability of this truck is so much better than stock. There's no way I would have gone through that section with the stock ESC, stock wheels, and mainly the stock wheels and tires being so lightweight. This really, you can see the body sway around quite a bit, which is very cool, and it looks like it's about to tip, but those heavy wheels just keep this thing planted. Like, I am no longer worried about driving through like a little end section like that where I can't necessarily see every little rock or, you know, wheel trap, whereas stock, that's when that thing would flip over, when I wasn't really super on top of every little move that it made. But now it just goes right through. It is extremely wet. We had a ton of rain last night. So it's not exactly fair to compare this. Still made it though. Doing my best to kind of replicate the same lines that I did on my first test. Yeah, this thing really doesn't care about any of these little rocks anymore. Whereas stock, little stuff like that could have toppled it over. But it just doesn't care anymore. Of course, the bumpers do care. Definitely getting some tire rubbage there. See what we're rolling into here. Oh, we got some bumper hanging up. I don't remember if I did this. Oh, let me hold the phone straight here. So even there, man, look at that. Are we gonna pull out of this? Oh, unbelievable. Oh, geez. That's the only problem with making this more capable, is you're going to be tempted to put it into way more sketchy situations where the little lights and bumpers and side running boards and stuff are going to be hanging up a lot more. So, but again, this is your choice now. It's as capable as you want it to be. You know, you have the option. If you want to push the limits, you can. Whereas stock, yeah, you really couldn't. I wonder, am I going to be able to make it through this whole trail? I shouldn't jinx myself right now. But can I make it? Oh, ooh, that was close. Can I make it through this whole trail without a single tip over? Because stock, I think I already rolled it 3 times by this point. And it was perfectly dry when I ran it like that. Oh, it's so much better. Let's try going up the hard way here. Nice. Show you guys something else real quick. I mentioned in my initial video that it seemed like the truck was leaning more toward one side, and to me it feels like these spring rates aren't identical. One feels a little stiffer than the other, so hard to see, but you'll see right there I put a little O-ring as a preload spacer, and that was just enough to get this thing leveled out. So another trick you could use, like a zip tie, which is actually what I did up front. You'll see here, kind of last minute today, I decided to add zip ties on both of the front shocks because they seem pretty well balanced. But just to get a little bit more of a 50-50 ride height here, where, well, it's sitting a little bit higher than 50% sag, but stock, without those zip ties as preload spacers, it really didn't give you much travel up front. Or the travel was the same, but it sat very low in the travel. And I think that was just hitting like essentially what would be the bump stops and just making it bouncier. So now I do have a little extra suspension and it stiffens things up a little bit. So teeny bit less roll. So super cheap, almost free mod. So hitting all these rocks at speed. Oh, man, I spoke too soon. I mean, that one's like a ramp. I was literally going to say hitting these rocks at speed doesn't worry me anymore because it's not toppling over, but I just pushed it too far on that one. So I blew it. That was my first rollover. It is still possible, but again, my mistake. I kind of went full speed into that, just trying to prove something, and it bit me. So, oh well. So as I was saying, going through all these little rocks and stuff no longer really scares me of rolling this thing, but it has its limits still, which is fine. Let's get to our first split screen comparison here. New setup on the left, obviously, you can tell by the wheels. Same section of trail, filmed from a slightly different perspective, but same section. And you can see on the left, I have a lot less hesitation. I'm just driving right through this section without really worrying too much about rolling this thing over. And you can kind of tell here how kind of more wobbly it is on the right with the stock setup. Okay, so back to the first spot here where I tried some steeper ascents. We're gonna kind of repeat the same thing and see if we can go even further. Again, it is slippery. Not a fair test at all, but tires are hooking up nice so far. Oh wow, just the overall feeling of this truck now. Like when I was trying to do a turn like that stock, it really felt so sketchy, like I was gonna roll this thing, that I didn't even want to turn around. Or like right there, for example. You can see it's just so much more stable. The ESC is so much more in control. Any herky-jerkiness you're seeing there is just my finger. I had a little bit too much caffeine on the way here, and I'm not being as smooth as I can be, so let's really focus on that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get anything steeper because of how wet everything is today, but we'll try it anyway. All right. I feel like that servo is struggling right now. And that was my the added weight of the wheels might necessitate a servo upgrade in the very near future. We're gonna see. I'll stop in a second and feel it and see if it feels hot at all. Then again, with the slipperier ground, it should be a little easier to turn today. Let me see if I could come down this. I'll be ready to catch this thing, but let's just test this drag brake. So that is holding nicely. All right, so that, no finger on the trigger at all, just descends nice. And again, you could really fine tune it. That's the nice part with this ESC. You can go in and my drag brake is at 100%. If you wanted to have the ability to just slow roll down things without touching the throttle or brake or anything, you can tune your drag brake, you know, pretty much levels 1 through 9. So you could have a drag brake that allows you to roll out. But I mean, what am I talking about? Let's try this again. I'm forgetting that I have a remote adjustable drag brake. That's one of the benefits of the G2 version of this Hobbywing 1080 is I have this set on my controller on a knob. And let me show you guys, that was full drag brake. Let me dial it back to about half. And we're gonna approach this again with no, oh yeah, you could see the difference there. That was the same thing, nothing, no finger on a trigger. You know, let me dial it up a little more and see. Let me go about 3/4 of the way. Okay, so this is gonna be about 3/4 drag brake. Roll into it. Right there, look at that. That's nice. It's more of the tire slipping more than anything, so very cool. Try this spot here. Was not able to get up this stock. I seriously doubt with these conditions that we're gonna be able to get this. Turn my drag brake back up. I mean, stability-wise, it's making me feel like I could probably play around and get it, but I also don't want to break anything today, so I think that might just be, oh boy, I'm not even messing with that. I don't want to break this rear bumper off. Let's try the next spot. All right, looking at this, it's really steep. I don't think there's any way. No way. And I just broke one of my lights because I'm an idiot. But yeah, so first damage, marker light. I'll just glue it back on. I still want to get LEDs for these, so they'll go up through the bottom, and that should kind of, I'll just glue everything in together, and it should be a little more sturdy than it is now. Okay, so this is the bypass. Let's see, I was able to get this by bumping it. I'm probably gonna have to do the same thing today just because it is very slippery. But it did it. Definitely in more control. And you know what? Let's get a close look at these inserts and see if they're starting to break in. There's a little bit of a break-in period with the silicone inserts, but that's a nice amount of flex there, tire flex. Let's see how the rear looks. Oh yeah. If they break in a bit, that's gonna be just about perfect. They have some nice sidewall stability. I've run these on a lot of other rigs, and they really work great, especially considering they're a $20 upgrade and they're waterproof. I gotta say, man, these tires are impressing me today. Oh, we're getting into a little bit of a off camber here. Let's see. Get the front up. Yep. Nice. Yeah, these tires are really impressing me. Again, these are the like Trepador clones off of my Red Cat Ascent Fusion. I will link these in this video. If you can get these separately, they're probably pretty inexpensive because a lot of times the Red Cat accessories are cheap. See how much better you can control it there. And again, going into this on an off camber, it would have rolled. It would have rolled. But zero chance of that now. Let's get right into this big climb here. I mentioned the last time, this is pretty extreme. If this was a full-size rig, I think I mentioned, it would be similar to that crazy line in Utah. I want to say it's like Dragon's Back, Camel's Back maybe, but there's a crazy line out in Utah that people wheel on, and it's just this huge spine of rock, and it's kind of like that idea, but there's like one line on it, and you just see, I think there was a pretty well-known video, well-circulated video where someone was driving down it in an older Blazer or something, and their brakes went out, and they just went careening down this crazy rock spine. But look how nice this thing is crawling now. Wet tires, but it'll get it. And honestly, so the thing is, I'm not cringing when I'm doing this. With the stock wheels and tires, I was just like so paranoid that it was gonna roll because it felt so tippy that I was not comfortable putting it in situations like that. And now it just has so much more stability and control and confidence. I think confidence, sorry, there's a plane going over. Confidence is a good word to describe this now. Before I was kind of really sketched out trying to do anything, like even this kind of descent here where it leans really had me like, oh man, like just cringing. And now I just have the confidence to go through this. I'm gonna dial out my drag brake a tiny bit and just see if I can roll down this without flipping forward. And of course, I'm gonna be ready to catch it. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Going back up this today is gonna be, I would say, an impossibility. I could probably do the easier line here. I don't think I even did the harder line. No, I remember it flipped backwards and it would do the same thing, even with that weight up front. I don't know that it ever has that, which is fine. I gotta listen to myself and say, I'm not building this into a rock crawler. This is just a fun scale trail truck. And this is about the most that I should be doing with it. But of course, I can't help myself. But yeah, it's killing it today. It's killing it with the wet conditions. It's still, oh, look at that tire coming up. Oh yeah, there's a big dip there. That's why. Let's see if I can straighten out. I don't know if we're getting up that easily. Maybe. I think we can get it. Might need a little bit of a bump. Yep. Look at that. Very nice. Going back up, this was the line I was able to get. Stock. Tire rubbing. But of course it was dry, and look at this. I'm kind of blown away with these tires right now. Oh, that might be bad. I think we're hung up. Sliding backward. Yeah. This is just poor line choice and wet conditions. Now the axle's hung up. I'm gonna try a reapproach on this. Let's give it one more shot. Might just need a little bit of speed to plow through it. Oh no. No. Again, this is where I should stop myself. Let's see a different approach. Probably not. I think we're just sliding too much. Oh no, we got it, we got it. All right, slightly different approach, safer approach to put the wheels into the crack so they don't slide. Yeah, let's try this again. I know it was able to get this. But again, look at the angle of that thing. So situations like that are so much more controlled now. A ton of confidence in this thing where I can just make turns like that on off cambers, spin right around, come back down with some nice control and not worry about it. Some Aussie. So here's a good, we'll test it a little further up. I don't want to show you guys the drag brake situation here with the stock motor. So fairly steep. Let's see how it rolls back. So you do get a little bit of rollback. That's 100% drag brake, set to its highest rate in the ESC. So here's the difference. I mentioned in my mod video, if you're gonna drop 40 bucks and buy the Hobbywing G2 and keep the stock motor, my personal recommendation would be spend another 25, 30, depending on what kind of deal you could find. Pick up the Hobbywing Fusion SE brushless combo, 2-in-1, and you're not gonna get that at all. The Fusion SE will absolutely anchor this thing. It is not gonna roll back at all. You're gonna have way more precise control and better power. So that would be my recommendation. As good as this is, and of course you would lose the remote adjustable drag brake feature with the Fusion, but I think it's worth trading off just for that extra control of the Fusion brushless system. But that was a cool line, no problems there. Let's do a little side hill test here. Which scares me to even say. Let's turn up into this hill and let's see. Yeah, see, look at those inserts, how well they're holding up. Tires are pushing a bit because it is wet and slippery, but I'm not getting any fold over of that sidewall, which is exactly what you want. Really wish I used some bug spray today. That would have been smart. Yeah. Oh. The added stability from these heavy wheels definitely gives me the confidence now to go ahead and add some accessories up on the roof rack. I ordered up some recovery boards, the metal type. I'm gonna strap up onto the roof rack, and maybe I'll throw another cool scale accessory or two up there. I'm not gonna go too crazy because what I found is anytime I do that, and if I do go out and roll the truck over, and now I have to worry about all these little accessories flying off the top or getting broken. So I'm not going to go too insane, but I would like to add a couple things just to make it look a little more realistic and give it a little more interest. But yeah, the added stability now, if I throw some extra weight up high, I'm not going to really worry too much about it making it undrivable. You can see here, it's so slippery today. I'm amazed at what this thing was able to pull off. And just overall, the experience was a lot better. It was a lot more fun driving it with more confidence that you're not going to just topple it over and destroy this body. I ordered some LED lights off of Amazon, some 3mm and some 5mm in some various colors. So look for a video on that coming up soon. I'll do a little basic wiring job and get all of these marker lights and tail lights working. As far as the front little pod lights on the fenders, I did end up breaking both of them off, so I'm not sure. I may go with something different, something that mounts on more of a metal pivoting mount that can flex around a little bit, because they are in a really vulnerable position here. Anytime you roll the truck over, it's going to land on them and snap them off. So I like them. I think they look cool. I just want something that's a little more sturdy. After this trail run, I did come back and bump up my BEC output to the servo to 7.4 volts. Stock is 6 volts, and I have to say the servo makes a lot more power and it's a lot quicker. It is still super noisy, which might be the main reason I end up replacing it. It just annoys me that it's that loud, but we're going to see how it holds up to the 7.4 volts, because again, the 1080 ESC is capable of supplying it with that power. It can actually put out 8.4 volts, but I think that's definitely going to be too much for this servo.
Blast here, drag brake fully off, so you can see the coasting ability here. So you can see that gear reduction is definitely doing something. It doesn't freewheel completely. And that's my reverse, of course, is at 50% power, but let's hit it again. So full power, off, and it just coasts. But with a little bit of resistance, which is nice, because it's not going to just shoot off the trail on you. And then, of course, let's do it. Drag brake full on, full power, off. And you see how it's still very controlled. Of course, it skids on the gravel, but so much better than stock.
I am really excited to get the leaf spring kit and start playing around with suspension tuning and setup. I do want to still retain the kind of realistic body sway that this thing has, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of suspension performance. I am really curious as well to maybe try an anti-sway bar, maybe just the rear or just the front or both. I do have one installed on my SCX6, and I've played around with them on some other crawlers, and they do have a big advantage in some areas. And I think with a top-heavy hard body like this, I think it could really be a nice improvement. So look for that in a future video. I'm gonna have to really customize something to make that work.
Bit of a dirt climb here. Just give these tires a bit of a test. They're big and nice.
This here is a perfect example of why I want to get into some suspension tuning. You can see how much bounce this has, and that has a lot to do with just the fact that these shocks are very underdamped. There's barely any fluid. They do leak a lot, so I don't think you can do much with the stock shocks. Even if you were to try to flip them over, which I tried, they don't really fit that well. I think they're just going to continue to leak. I want to find a different shock that really works well with this. But I'm not going to mess with it until I get the leaf spring kit installed, because that could alter some shock lengths, and I got to figure out what works after I do that kit install. You can hear that it did develop a bit of a clicking noise. I'm not positive what that is coming from. It didn't really seem to get much worse once it started, so I'm not too worried about it. It could just be something with one of the drive shafts. I did, of course, in my previous video, grease my ring and pinion gear, which I'm glad I did, because later after this run, I did end up finding a cool stream to play around in, and I ran this through some pretty deep water. But I'm not too worried about it. At some point, I'll have a lot of this taken apart and just to go over it and grease. It could be something in the transfer case. but at this point, it didn't really sound like
Man, you get great
anything
control now.
major. I think it just went through a little bit of a break-in period. So if I figure anything out, I will let you know in a future video. That's a wrap on this, guys. Overall, I'm really impressed, really happy with these mods. Huge difference, huge improvement. Overall driving experience is just so much better. And stay tuned if you want to see. I have even more. I know this is a long video, and if you made it this far, thank you. I have even more running video where I went down and found this cool creek to play around in, so stay tuned. I'll post that up shortly, and then we'll get into the next round of mods coming up. But thank you guys, appreciate it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, and stay tuned for more on this build series. I love this truck. I'm having a ton of fun with it, and I can't wait to take it out again. Later, guys.
Lost my other light. I don't know where it went. Damn it, I don't know. I'll find it someday. Probably not. I'll just order more. Oh, hey. There it is. Another bit of a side hill test here. Whoa. Oh, that's actually level. My phone. Oh.